Anyway, let's start. I can see you all have your, or most of you have your meals. Today we're going to do a nutrition talk, which is under the subject of the Wellness Week that we are organizing for Vistaprint this week. Maybe some of you have already tried the massage therapist. At the moment, we're going to talk about a very specific part of nutrition, which is called metabolic typing. I think you've all received the metabolic typing questionnaire. For those who have filled it out, you might have some questions. Keep those questions till the end of the talk, and I will take my time to answer all of your questions. Those who need to go back to their workplace, they are then allowed to leave. That's no problem. But keep your questions till the end. Write them down because it's going to be quite an interesting discussion, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions about metabolic typing, about nutrition, even about maybe sports or anything in sports-related nutrition. Okay. So I've made some notes here, which are also linked to the questionnaire. But before we start, I want to speak a little bit about diets in general. Because in the last 25 years, there have been so many diets that people have become a bit desensitized to the word diet in general. Diet has always been linked to weight loss, not necessarily directly to health. And that's what I want to change, not something that I want to change. That's something what I want to speak about today. Is diet related to health, and then it provokes a long-term weight loss, better performance, better energy, etc. So we're not specifically going to talk about weight loss. The thing is, though, that there's so many diets have occurred over the last 25 years because there was a huge epidemic happening in the USA, and that has come to Europe as well, even to Spain. Spain is the #2 country in the European Union that has the highest amount of child obesity, just to give you an example, after the UK. And great parts of the Western society are at the moment suffering because of their diets. We're not going to talk today about the food industry. I could talk a whole day about the food industry, but it's something that we don't have enough time to talk about. Maybe we can do that on another occasion, which I'm sure will happen. Due to the whole boom in diets, we can't tell the forest from the trees anymore. We have the 5-2 diet, the Atkins diet, the zone diet, you name it. There's countless diets, and which one works? Are they all good? Are they all bad? What do I think about diets? Well, I think that a diet, in general, if it consists of non-processed foods, will always benefit your health. But it goes a bit further. What is good for you might not be good for you, or might even be poisonous to another person. That's what research has shown. Everybody's metabolism is completely unique, like your fingerprint. So when you eat a certain diet high in proteins, it might not have the same effect than if another person would eat that same diet, like for example the Atkins diet, which is high in proteins and low in carbs. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about this genetic part of your metabolism, about the hereditary factors and about your DNA. Because in the end, it is normal for you to have a lot of energy, to feel good, and I know that in many cases that is not the case, and especially during the day. Who recognizes the peaks or the downs and ups during the day in energy? Who has that? That's most of the people here. Okay? And that is often not just work and stress related, that's mostly also diet related. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So in the 80s, a guy named William Walcott started to really investigate metabolism on a more biochemical level. And what they came up with is that the way people process or digest proteins, fats, and carbs is very, very different. So maybe what you're putting in your mouth now, and you think that it is nutrition, might not give you the energy, even though you think that that is something that you should be eating, because it's unprocessed, it's advertised as healthy, it has no salt in it, etc. It might still be that those food sources and the combination of the food sources in the macronutrients, fats, carbs and proteins are not being digested well by your system, and by that, your cells doesn't give any energy. So you think, how can it be that this healthy meal would not be good for me? That's what we're going to go into a bit more detail later when we talk about each of the 3 types. Okay? Well, William Walcott, what he did is he investigated and he said, okay, how can we test this? So what are we going to look for? So there's certain morphological factors, like for example your constitution, your body constitution. And a very simple way to do one test is, for example, to grab your wrist. And if you can grab your wrist with your thumb and your pinky and close it completely, you're probably a type A. It's slow oxidizer. And if you can grab it with your thumb and your middle finger, you're probably a type B. But if you notice that thumb and middle finger don't even come together, you're probably a type C. Okay? So my dad was a type A, my mom is a type C, and I'm a type B. It's very interesting, but that's how genetics work. So to go a little bit more into the history of things, before there was a lot of migration and traveling and airplanes, etc., thousands of years ago, there were populations that were in a certain area and that weren't able to migrate. So for example, the Eskimos, they were up north, there was no vegetation, so they survived mostly on animal protein and fat, and they were healthy. And then there were people from the tropics that had a lot of fruits and vegetables, and they were healthy too. And what happened over the course of years is, of course, that because of migration, we probably have some genes of everything in our system. But we still have a predominance, and that's why William Walcott categorized those in three different categories. But these are just an estimation. You can be a B type tending to A, or a B type tending to C. Okay? So let's go into detail a little bit more. What's an A type? What's a B type? And what's a C type? What are the characteristics? How should that person eat? How should that person do sports? Etc. Because this is very interesting. So as we already said, the A types are generally the people that are very skinny. They can grab their wrist and close the thumb and their pinky. They are slow oxidizers, but they have fast metabolism, which is very different. Okay, so these are the people who can get away with eating cookies and eating McDonald's and they don't gain any weight. Which doesn't mean necessarily that these people are very healthy. You don't have to be obese to be able to have high blood pressure or have diabetes. Okay? I mean, these are the people that are normally regarded as, oh, look at her, you know? She can get away with anything. Yeah? Or he can get away with anything. He can eat anything. He doesn't get any bigger or any fatter. The slow oxidizer means that whenever food comes into that person's system, it oxidizes very slowly because that person doesn't need that much energy as the bigger people with a lot of muscle mass and a lot of weight, you know, they have much more energy requirements. So in general, these people are slow oxidizers and they have a autonomic nervous system that is tending towards an imbalance in the sympathetic nervous system. What is the sympathetic nervous system? Is the fight or flight part of your nervous system. So these people are generally a bit more anxious. They tend to have more problems with bones and with joints, for example, arthritis, stuff like that, because they don't have the muscle mass to sustain their posture and to sustain their system. So those are the ones who often have like back problems, scoliosis. The C-type, I'm a personal trainer. If I see a C-type, they hardly ever have back problems. Because they have so much muscle mass that protects their spine. So, the sympathetic nervous system also, what it does, it raises your pulsation, your pulse. So they're higher in pulse and more nervous. And if they eat a protein-rich diet, they might even lose muscle mass because they don't know what to do with so much protein in their system. Okay? So on the macronutrient level, carbs, proteins, and fats, these people do very well on a diet high on grains, etc. 60% carbs, 25% proteins, and 50% fat. I know that half of you will already be thinking, so what are carbs and what are proteins and what are fats and what can I eat because I'm that type? Well, we're going to come to that a bit later. Okay, so something else that is related to this person is when these people do sports, they are generally the people that you see out running because they're light. It doesn't, they don't have any weight to drag along, so they are the ones running along the beach like a gazelle, Whereas the type C, you would rather see that person in the gym because they're a bit slower. They don't like to move that much. Okay? But it's part of your genetics, it's part of your constitution. Okay? So this person tends normally to easily lose weight, have low body fat percentage, even though they can have quite an above average body fat percentage, it doesn't show that much because their whole bone structure is slim. Even if they have 15-20% body fat, it doesn't really show that much because they're slim. Whereas the C type normally, it looks at chocolate and goes, there's the belly, and you see it immediately because they're already stronger built. Okay, we're going to go now from the A type to the C type because actually the B is a mixture of those two types. Okay, so the C type is a fast oxidizer. This person needs a lot of energy. And if this person doesn't get the energy from energy-rich sources like fatty fish, fatty sources like proteins, high in purine, this person is going to scream for energy. And it's when you get these food cravings, etc. This person, if it doesn't have a balanced diet, this person is going to gain a lot of weight. Now, why is this person more prone to disease in our modern day society? And that will bring me back to the food industry. Because the food industry is based on cheap cereals, cheap sugar, and builds everything with those nutrients. Those are the nutrients that this person doesn't do well on, unfortunately. Okay, so this person is a bit more perjudicado in English. Sorry, a bit more prone to the negative effects of the food industry nowadays. So for this person, it's even more important to have a healthy, clean diet, high in protein, high in fat. Okay. So this would be like more or less the Atkins diet. This would be more like a diet high in cereals and grains. So what does this person does when he's a celiac, for example? Well, those are things that we're going to come into a bit later. Okay. Now we see here that the autonomic nervous system of the C type is normally a bit more tending towards parasympathetic, slow heartbeat, low blood pressure, not a high blood pressure, and that type of thing. Easily, this person will almost never faint or ever have like dizziness or something because of low blood pressure, because they tend to have a more high blood pressure because of the autonomous nervous. This person is the opposite. Okay? And as we look at the macronutrients, on the macronutrient level, this person would only need 30% of carbs. It would need 40% of proteins and 30% of fat. Proteins and fat are often found together in nature. Fish, meat, nuts, seeds, they are combined proteins and fats. Okay? And as you can see, it's almost half, it is half of the amount of carbs. What happens to this person when he takes too many carbs, and I would say a normal diet in our society exists on average about 70 to 75% carbs. Okay. Why is that? Because we are eating a lot of starches. Starches come from cereals. Starches is a plant-based glucose. And what it is, it's a combination of a lot of glucose molecules together, and when they hit the small intestine, they release, and it's a feast for the insulin. Okay, because it's not like table sugar, which is one part glucose and one part fructose. It's even more intense for your blood sugar to get starches. So this person is having normally a lot of insulin peaks and drops on a normal Western diet. So that is something that should be prevented, okay? And then the mixed type, as we said, it's a mix between the two. They can still be tending towards having a more slow oxidizing system or a faster oxidizing system, so they're somewhere here or somewhere there, okay? That is something that you can also see in the numbers that you've circled. If you see that you really have like 6A, 15B, and 20C, well, you're somewhere here probably, you know? By the way, this is called the metabolic typing. It's called diet, but you know, I don't like to use the word diet so much because of the negative connotations and the desensitivity that is linked to the word diet nowadays. It's called metabolic typing. Okay? So there's a lot of websites now. It's been around for a while, but it's something that I see is really helping people to increase in their health more than in weight loss. Because weight loss, if you eat towards your metabolic type and you eat non-processed foods, you will, on the long run, automatically drop weight, or ideally at the end, your weight will go up if you're type B, type A. You will get some more muscles on your body. Because if this person is eating all the proteins and fat that he doesn't know how to digest, there will be an energy deficiency. And what will happen if there's an energy deficiency? Your body will go into a catabolic state, which means you will use your own muscle mass to provide energy. So you can go to the gym, you can do whatever. If your diet is not right, you will use your own muscle mass as energy. And in this person, in general, what you see is a lot of insulin secretion, high blood sugar, diabetes, pre-diabetes, and this is really based on the food industry, the food options that are available. So I would say to these people, be careful with cereals, be careful with pasta and rice and everything because they're starches. Bread, cookies, pastry, and anything that is based on cereals, because they are clustered glucose molecules that will wreak havoc on your insulin and on your hormonal system. So that is a little bit explained about the A, B, and the C type. So we're talking about health, and the question occurs is, well, what is health? Is health the mere absence of symptoms, or does health mean if I don't take any medication, does that mean I'm healthy? Well, I think that if you look at the general phrase for health, it's not just a mere absence of symptoms, it's that you feel energetic, vibrant all day long. You can see it, you can feel it, and you know it. That is something very interesting. We're going to go a bit more into detail on that later when we talk about the map and the compass. And what happens if one day you find out that, you know, you go to the doctor, you do a checkup, you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and you're pre-diabetic or you're diabetic. Is it possible to have some kind of control over your health? Well, of course we know there are a lot of lifestyle factors that are there, that society brings to us every day. And that's the workplace, the pressure, the stress, pollution, noise pollution, air pollution. They're there, and there's nothing much that we can do about it. Especially if we live in a city or we live in areas with high industry. So in general, which factors can we do something with? No, those are exercise and their diet. And today we're talking about that part of the diet. So before, a lot of people raised their hands and said, well, I feel those dips during the day. And normally there are two moments of the day where that can occur slightly, which is in the morning and around 5-6 p.m. Because those are the circadian rhythms, and then later at night when we go to sleep. But the circadian rhythms, they do occur. So there are dips in cortisol, natural dips and peaks in cortisol during the day. But that doesn't mean that you feel completely low in energy, can get forward or have sugar cravings. Because those are things that are normally related to and the lifestyle and the environment, but also your diet. Okay? So, when we talk about the diet, and now we're going to talk about diet apart from this, so this is already something that has to do with your DNA. But then there are also some tips and tricks, and we briefly spoke about this the last time I did the nutrition talk. It's called the distribution. Okay? Because apart from the percentages of each macronutrient, we need to distribute those during the day so that we come to the evening and we're not completely hungry or even sugar craving at 10 p.m. Because what happens in Spain a lot is that at 10 p.m. or at 9 p.m. you get the biggest meal of the day, just before we go to bed. And when we sleep, we use about, in a female, 150 calories, and in a male, about 200 calories during those 8 hours or 7 hours. And if you have a meal of 700 calories or 800 calories in the evening, plus a bit of alcohol, alcohol, by the way, is an empty nutrient. It is 9 calories per gram, and it does not have any nutritional effect. And as a matter of fact, if there's alcohol in your body will stop metabolizing other nutrients because it regards alcohol as being a poison. So it wants to get it out of your system, and it will stop your metabolism until that is out of your system. That's why you often feel tired when you have alcohol. Okay? So, back to distribution. Breakfast. 25% in general. Okay? Then mid-morning. Mid-morning snack, 15%. Who doesn't have breakfast? And who doesn't have a mid-morning snack? We'll come back to that later. Lunch, 35%. Mid-afternoon snack, another 10, 15%, let's say 10. And then the dinner. This is ideal. But I know for a fact that in Spain, this part will normally be much, much heavier. And in general, it will be much heavier. What you can see here, let's say that this is around 1700, 5 p.m. And this part equals 90%. 90% of your total energy intake should be around before, let's say, 6 p.m. Why? Because that's when you need energy. That's when your body, your brain, your organs, everything is functioning. So if you don't give your body the energy that it needs during the day, how will it end up? Craving, hungry, moody. Okay? That's very normal. So what does it take to make an effort? What does it take to change this? Is to understand that if we supply energy at the first part of the day, we will normally eat less and have less need for food at the end of the day. So if you recognize this, if you recognize that you come home 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and you would eat a truckload, and you will probably overeat because, why? Your insulin level will probably have dropped under a 50 or under a 55. And if you eat that food in the evening and it's like a big plate, that food will only be digested and giving you energy 2 hours, 3 hours later. So what happens? You have this big plate and you're still hungry. Oh, the sweet tooth. Because your body has started metabolizing. That takes extra energy. About every digestion is about 100 to 125 calories. On top of already not having any energy, what will happen? The chocolate comes out, postres, So, you understand already, if this is something that you recognize, where you go wrong. Okay? So this is something very interesting. that every meal should be composed to either A, B, or C type. So it's not just the daily totals, it's every meal. Because if that meal is not balanced, then you will not have an optimum energy supply during the day. And the further you're off this, the more cravings you'll have, the more dips in energy you'll have, and probably also will be unhealthy. Because there's also a lot of metabolic, hormonal processes behind that that will give your body a balance. Your immune system, your hormonal system, reproduction, everything. It affects everything. So if you want to perform, that's probably why they pay you to stand there. You need to eat better. And you need to know what is my metabolic type and what food sources do I do well on. Okay? So every meal should be composed. So an A type should have 60, 25, 15, 60, 25, the whole day long. Now probably you have the question, what if I exercise? Do I need more protein then? Well, those volumes are marginal because this person already has very little muscle mass and will need a bit more protein, but not that much. This person already needs to eat a lot of protein because it has a lot of muscle. So if he goes to the gym, he will need protein, but it's already in his diet or in his nutritional habits. It's already in there. Okay? That's towards distribution. I think this is very, very important because it's something that goes wrong in most people. Get up in the morning, have a proper breakfast, have your mid-morning snack, and see how you'll get to lunch. You won't have the crazy cravings. And you'll do with a smaller lunch. Normally this is about 40, 40 or 40, 50. Okay. Who recognizes that this is something that they could improve in most people? Yeah. Okay. So, what I've explained here is a bit the map. I spoke about it, the map and the compass, because if you go on a journey like this with nutrition, you need your tools. And your tools are a map, and your tools are a compass. This is the map that you need to look at. The compass, however, is your intuition. Because you know what food sources are good for you. You know where you do well and where you don't do so well. Often we're not in tune with that. Try this week, try to find out, experiment a bit. Look into metabolic typing and look into the different food lists that there are. There's a food list for the number 1 and a food list for number 2, which is the C type. Okay? And if you look into those two food lists, you can already understand that the B type can have a little bit of that and a little bit of that and it will still do well on it. Okay? But the compass is you. You know, look into your diet, know that if you need to gain weight, lose weight, increase in energy, feel more healthy, if there is any chronic illness or anything underlying there, if you take medication, any client of mine that's on medication, my biggest goal is, my personal goal, is to get that person off medication. Because medication comes normally from the allopathic medicine, which means like, let's treat them all the same. They don't look if the parasympathetic nervous system is out of balance or let's say the autonomous nervous system is out of balance or your metabolism is out of balance. They don't look at that. Okay? And the Western, the Eastern medicines, they look more at the body. And this is more or less a combination of the two, so it goes a level lower than those two medicines. This is on a molecular level that you will change things in your body. So for example, you're taking medication for high blood pressure, and you do the same. And you're a bit different body type. You have different imbalances, and you will both get the same medicine. Whereas with the food, and with even on the micronutrient level, This would be a bit more advanced metabolic typing coaching, where you say maybe you need to take potassium and maybe you need to lower potassium because it's a different imbalance in the micronutrient system. Okay, so this is something very, very interesting, I think, to look at. But first of all, apart from the map, look at yourself, the compass. Let me be guided by what your inner voice says as well, and your intuition, because normally it is right. And then the last rule of thumb is, I know it's difficult to have perfect nutrition and to eat unprocessed every day, because even bread, pasta, it's all processed. Okay? Try to have this rule of thumb to have 90% unprocessed, 10% cheat. Normally, I put this in one day of the week, and one cheat day. And in the cheat day, normally I feel so bad. I feel that in my energy, so that's normally on a Saturday. I'll have a glass of wine or I'll have a beer, and I notice the impact of that on my body on Sunday morning when I'm preparing for that marathon. Yes. So, questions? Shoot. Yes.
What's a good breakfast for C-type?
For the C-type. C-type is normally a person that will do well on eggs with bacon and the heavier breakfast, because it needs a lot of energy, especially during the day. The whole day is still ahead of you. If you have a difficult day with a lot of activity, then if you start off with a proper breakfast, then in general you will have energy. Of course, be careful with salt and stuff like that in general, but you will do much better on a breakfast for a C-type, on a heavier breakfast, than on a light breakfast. And then we come into the discussions, are eggs good for you? Well, we said before, one person's food is another person's poison. Or can be another person's poison. So if this person would eat like that, it would maybe even be able to develop something like gout, because it doesn't know where to go with all those purites. It doesn't have an idea what to do with that. Indigestion, stuff like that. So a lot of protein will definitely cause indigestion in this person. Difficult to go to the toilet, Yes?
How do you realize that 90% of non-processed food? Because I find it pretty feasible to take.
It is a lot of, you have to go to the supermarket more because there's a lot more fresh food. Okay? But stuff like, like base it on pulses, legumes, fruits, veg, meat, fish, that's all unprocessed. So there will be more meat and fish here, and
If you frozen and unprocessed food, is it still as good for your...
Sorry, again?
If you frozen, if you have to, for instance, to avoid to go to the supermarket every day, you can buy fresh food and freeze it. Is it still as good?
Well, of course, it will lose some nutrients, but in general, I would prefer that than to buy. For example, even if you buy some fresh fish in the supermarkets, turn around the package and you look at it and it's not all fresh. Sometimes you have fish, you open the package and it smells of ammonia. That's because they put preservatives in there. Okay? So try, if you go, everything that is packaged normally, even if it is like a minced meat, it will have some additives and preservatives in it because of the laws. But if you go, it's the same meat that they sell you, and they take the lump of meat and put it through a food processor, they give it to you. But when they package it, they have to add stuff to it. That's what I call already processed, because there are chemicals in there that our body doesn't need and can't do anything with. Okay, so I would rather have you go to the fresh fish shop, to the fish shop, and then freeze it, than to take fresh fish packaged that has an expiry date of 5 days longer, because they put additives in it or preservatives. Yes?
What if you have a problem with your thyroid?
With your thyroid? Well, thyroid problems are normally high thyroid, low thyroid. It has to do with your autonomic nervous system. Okay? So, automatically, the diet, the A-type diet, has food sources that will normally slow down your thyroid function. And this will have food sources that will normally increase thyroid function. So it balances thyroid. Okay, so it's all actually already embedded in the food sources that are ideal for each of the types. Okay. Of course, there are underlying medical issues that could also activate thyroid and where you would really need medication. Okay, but in general, a more active thyroid, you know, it will happen more in these people, and a diet that is rich in cereals, that is really balanced for this person's metabolism, will already slow down thyroid function. If you would do a bit more advanced metabolic typing coaching, you could even go on a micronutrient level. Slow thyroid function, I would, for example, recommend kelp, which is a sort of algae that grows in the sea, seaweed, kelp, and it's high on iodine. Because in general, iodine is one of the deficient nutrients in, I would say, 95% of the people's diet. But if the person has a fast thyroid, and you would supply that person with kelp, because the symptoms are more or less the same, then that person's thyroid will even go faster, and they will even lose more weight. Okay, so there you would reduce iodine. Iodine is often also added to table salt, so you would reduce that person's table salt amount. And you see, so for every type, there are different general symptoms. There could be a fast oxidizer that still has a fast thyroid. Okay, because it's a type C. But he doesn't show overweight symptoms, but he still has the morphology of the type C. So he might be not in a hormonal balance, thyroid overactive. He might be very slim, even though he's a type C. You understand a little bit? It's not always what you see is what you get. That's why this is such an interesting program. There was a question here.
Yeah, how does the distribution vary depending on when, like what time of day you're doing the exercise?
That's a very interesting question. Because normally, if you do an exercise just after lunch, you want your lunch to be lighter and your post-exercise nutrition to be higher. Because otherwise you're exercising with a full stomach. Your full stomach will already need digestion. It will take energy away from you, so your exercise would not be as efficient because energy would go to digestion. Maybe even stop digestion because you do exercise. So, and this is a very good question. General rule of thumb: 90% before say 5-6 p.m. If you exercise in the evening and you can't find that you go to sleep, you know, you're like hyper, you know, then it's okay to have something to eat afterwards, maybe a bit bigger, because during the night your body will be recovering and it will need a bit more energy. Okay? If you then don't eat, your sleep might be not so well. You know, you don't have such a high quality sleep. You wake up in the, you know, you feel tired in the morning. Okay, so when it's exercise, there are some different rules of thumb. There's normally after or post-exercise is when you need to eat. Also for another reason, because exercise is a catabolic process. It is muscle breakdown at the moment. And the anabolic processes are the 24 hours after, or even the 48 hours after, depending on which type of exercise that you've done. So that is when you have to have a very good diet to get the most of the exercise. There's a lot of people going to the gym 5 times a week, eating badly, on top of that, not giving their bodies rest, not a correct post-nutrition, post-exercise nutrition, which all sparks pro-inflammatory processes in the body, catabolic processes, so there might not be as much muscle build as that they wanted, or fat loss as they wanted. So that's a very, very, already very specific theme, which I actually like. Any other questions?
Having a big lunch is not like a detriment of your energy in the afternoon. You can feel very tired after a big lunch.
Well, that again depends. If you have a big lunch and it's not cooked according to your nutritional needs, then anyone with a lot of food that he doesn't know what to do with in his body will create lethargy. Even in an A type, which is normally a bit more active, a bit more anxious person. Okay? So that's why we always say, look at this, this is your map. You can take a picture of it later if you want, but this is your map. This is like the basics of that. And then you go into detail. micronutrient-wise, macronutrient-wise. Okay. What I will do is I will send you, Celia, the food list for the type A and the type B, or for the type A and the type C, and then the B types know that they can have a combination of a little bit of both of those. Okay, which I think is very good. Then what I've also done, and I will give that to you today, Celia, is I came up with a sheet for each of the types. So an A type oxidizer, the B oxidizer, and the C oxidizer, which are the ideal protein sources, which are the ideal carb sources. So it's all already in there. Ask Celia for a copy, okay, and then you'll have like already a little guidance to how you can eat. What would be very interesting if you could do is, and I will also send you an example of that, which is to do a food diary. So you write down every day, because if you write it down, you think, why am I eating this? When you put it in your mouth, it's at the moment where your brain is probably not even thinking about it, but then all the processed food and all the trash you put in your mouth is written down, and you're like, whoa, that has been my day. But apart from writing down the food, I would like you to write down the way you feel at that moment. Energy, mood. Okay? So this is really an interesting exercise. If you do this for 2 weeks or even for 1 week, you probably already find that your dinners are too big, that there's a lot of processed food, that there's not enough energy coming in your system. Then you can start to analyze why is that. And those who are mostly in balance will see that energy, good mood. That will be a normal process for somebody who is having a proper diet. Okay? Apart from that, of course, exercise regularly. Let's say 3 to 4 times a week. Do some yoga, do some CrossFit. We are offering classes here with Fiona and Elena. So that is it from my side, but please ask me any question you have right now.
If you can't make, like, if I have to take 40% of protein a day, and I can't eat so much chicken and so much meat and tuna, do you recommend using whey protein?
Yes, of course. The only thing that you should understand is if you supplement whey protein, it has no fat in it. Okay? But I don't think I use it.
I'm a bee.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I saw your wrist. I think that's not. So,
I was just wondering.
So for example, if somebody like this would take protein shakes after workout, wouldn't be able to go to the toilet for days. No, really. That's how it would work for that person, because it wouldn't know what to do with that protein. Okay, just a protein shake will disrupt the complete digestion of this person. Even if it's easily absorbed protein that is right to the box, it might not be for you. So what you could do then, is you could add a banana, and some water, or even some orange juice, and some protein, and mix that up. You already see, orange juice, carbs, banana, carbs, and then there's the protein. Okay, so that's how you can then tweak your nutrition, so it is balanced. If anyone has any questions, you know, you can send them to Celia. You can contact me. Celia has my contact details in case you have any more questions, or you would say, hey, I would like to know a bit more about this. I'm having trouble gaining weight. I'm having trouble losing weight. Know that we are there. This is what we do. Are there any questions?
Does it apply to kids?
To kids, definitely. Because the genes, the DNA is already there. This was interesting, I was at a client's yesterday, and I work on Sundays as well, unfortunately. I was at the client's home yesterday, and we were going through the metabolic type because I found a caterer that actually caters a metabolic type diet. Maybe we can talk about it. Maybe if you are interested, we could organize like a caterer to give you for 1 month or for 1 week the metabolic type that you need. And if we have enough, maybe they were able to deliver here. I don't know. That is something that is just an idea. But this is a family, and the dad is a C type and the mom is an A type. She's 170 at 47 kilos, and he's 163 at 90 kilos. And they were having the exact same diet. So I said, listen, this is not going to go anywhere. You need to change this. And then they said, this is also going to, you know, be beneficial for my kids. And I said, do you already know which of the kids have both genes? or which of the kids are tending towards what. And then they were, Maribel is going towards the dad, and she is going towards the mom, and the other two are like a bit in the middle. So you already know a little bit about it, and this is where probably the future will also go. That nutrition, and I hope it goes in that direction, that nutrition will be much more based on genes and on DNA than just on what the food industry offers us or poisons us with. Sorry, I just had to say that. Okay? Yes?
So just in continuous to that, so how do you recognize in your kids what types they are?
Well, normally you will already see that if everybody gets the same diet, the one that is also a bit bigger bone, the big more corpulent, those are normally the ones that go towards this type. And the ones that, or you can have a very thin child that is losing, and it's even eating a lot, but it's not getting the nutrients, it's getting maybe too many proteins and fat, because dad loves his meat, and it's meat and chips and fried every day, and that kid will lose weight because of that diet. You understand? Because it doesn't know what to do with it.
You are the one deciding for them, or at least I have a smaller child, so I decide what she eats.
Yes.
So I don't know, of course, she's normal weight, so, but I
Well, what
think
you
you're
can
the one
first look at
deciding,
is
don't we know?
the parents. If the parents are both a medium type, you can understand that the C type is normally the person with really broad shoulders, big head, strong build, even in a woman, big arms, strong build, just like that. That will normally be more going towards say C type, okay? And you know that if you have a child, very thin, really, really skinny, thin legs, then you know that will know as being A type. You can already see that a little bit. That's why it would be very interesting to look into this, because you can give that child nutrition from a very early age that's actually in the macronutrient balance towards his genetic expression. That's why I think that going into the future, you will get human beings who are stronger, who are better developing, healthier. But it depends a lot on the parents. I have a child myself, and I try to, but sometimes it's really hard to go to a party, and mine doesn't do that well in sugar. He's a B type, so if he gets too much sugar, he'll go mad. Of course, normally in the processed foods like the sugary, the sweeties and everything, there's colorants, additives, and it completely messes up their hormonal system. Apart from that, it's not natural food; it's processed food. Okay, so there's a lot of factors. I know this is a bit of a lot of information for you right now, but I think that it's a really good thing to look into it, to investigate nutrition, because your own output and your offspring's output, or your husband or wife's output, will be much better because of it. Your performance, your energy, your mood. It will. This if you do this well, even if it's only on a macronutrient level and on a distribution level. Let's not look into which micronutrients you need. You will already notice a big benefit. And then having more unprocessed foods, fresh foods. Okay, that will already be a big benefit. I mean, most people are not having only 10%. Why? Because of convenience, and that's where the food industry plays in on. We don't have time, so so you come into this vicious circle, and all of a sudden the health is gone. There is this problem, whether it's a weight problem or a blood pressure problem or diabetes or whatever, cancer even. These are all epidemics. In the 21st century, cancer and diabetes will be the #1 epidemics. So it's something that I think that looking to your own quality of life, it's very interesting to spend some time researching this. And I think Vistaprint made a very good choice to